And we are back talking about wellness and physical wellness, really.
Yes.
Fitness. And you were going through a list of all the benefits of what physical fitness is.
Well, see, so the importance of movement.
Right, the importance
So
of it.
it's healthy joints, strong bones, physical strength, good circulation, especially when you're doing cardiovascular.
Okay.
Now, so because we have over 600 muscles in the body, so that
crazy.
covers a lot of
That sure
territory.
does.
Yeah.
So we're the, like, I guess every part of your body's got muscle. I mean, you
Basically,
can't
yeah.
really, your heart's a muscle, isn't it?
It is, but you know,
Okay.
they also go side by side because there's usually two of them.
Okay,
You know, there's
okay.
two quadriceps or
Okay.
two biceps,
Okay,
you know, so
right. So
they
there's a
look at
pair.
it's a
Okay,
pair,
okay.
exactly. But you know, when we start to do physical activities, it's actually, you ever hear them talk about weight bearing, and it's
Yes.
good as we get older
Right.
to strengthen our bones.
Very important.
So the more that we do things that's like almost like compression into our bones, the bones get stronger.
Okay.
And so that helps with osteoporosis
Very
because you have stronger bones. It's actually because we have two laws. We have one called the Davis Law and the Wolff's Law.
Is the Davis Law?
I wish. But no, the Wolff's Law says that the more you hit bone on bone, the bone gets stronger.
Okay.
Davis Law talks more about tissue.
Okay.
So the more you stretch tissue, it starts to have muscle memory.
Interesting.
So
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
exactly.
And so that explains why if you haven't worked out in a long time and you do even just a minute amount of
Right.
exercise, you're going to be sore more than likely. You'll be sore the next day, but the key is to keep it going.
Exactly.
Now,
and the more you do it,
Right.
the muscle remembers. So like
Muscle
if you're really
memory.
stiff, if I try to reach over and touch my toes, if my hamstrings are really tight, more than likely I have some low back issues also
Okay.
because it's pulling on my pelvis.
Okay.
But the more I bend over, the more the muscle
go
says
better.
it forms new bonds.
Okay.
So it forms
Very
new bonds, so
good.
you have more flexibility.
Okay.
And you know, a lot of times as we get older, the lack of balance is what causes people to fall and maybe have hip fractures.
Okay. Is that why it's important to build your core? Does
Yeah,
the
what-
core
what's a-
help with your
what's a core?
balance?
Well, how you define a core?
In here, all that space up in there.
No.
Really?
That's one
not
aspect.
your core?
Your core is anything from basically up here to your thighs.
So
and
it's
that-
your torso area.
Your torso. So that
Okay.
includes your back.
Okay. Oh,
So a lot of
okay.
times people
I
think
always thought
core,
the
and they're
core
like,
is just
"Oh,
the belly.
it's my
Yeah.
abdominal muscle."
Yeah.
For the most part, your abdominal muscles are there for stabilization.
Right,
But you
right,
got some
right.
muscles in your back that are really important for posture.
Okay.
You know?
Okay. Very good.
So it's like, so physical activity as far as muscle is strength training is
love
important.
strength
You know,
training,
it's
yeah.
very important.
and maybe even more effective than cardio.
Yeah, I think
Especially at a
they-
certain age group.
I think they have their thing. I think cardio
Yeah.
could be even just going for a walk.
I'm not a fan. Yeah, I can
You know,
walk.
so walk
yeah,
is
walking's
good.
good. I love to be physical. I'm just not a big fan of, being on a treadmill. I like to see stuff.
Right.
So I need scenery, okay? Treadmill is just not fun.
Yeah.
But I can walk for
Exactly.
Yeah.
So even doing that, and so even with walking for 30 minutes, that helps to regrow your brain link. Because in our
Ooh.
brain, we have what we call neuroplasticity.
Okay, I remember
So,
you mentioning
yeah.
that before.
And so it develops these new pathways for your brain. So it actually helps you to really, your brain stays healthy.
That's great.
So we want to continue to have a healthy brain as we get older.
Absolutely.
And of course, we want to still have somewhat of muscle tone
Right.
because we do lose a little muscle tone as we get older. That's why it's important to
Yeah.
do strength training.
Have you seen some of those? I think I was watching maybe Dr. Oz, an old episode, with she was like 75 years old, the bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I
that
mean,
tells you that you
she
can
had
still
zero
keep
body
it.
fat. Yep. She was all about, she was a, I think she was like a strength, what do you call that? Where they would compete.
Oh,
It was-
okay.
yeah, she was a competitive bodybuilder. It was pretty amazing.
Well, you know, a lot of
Gave
times
me
we
hope.
lose so much joint mobility.
Uh-huh.
You know, and so
Right.
a lot of times, what did it say? As far as a yoga, you can't be free in your mind if you're rigid in your body
Okay.
because you're too caught up with your body pains, right?
So are you ever too old to start yoga?
No.
Okay. Do you also, as a yoga teacher, do you teach every level? Like, do you teach beginners?
Oh yeah. And
Okay.
I mean, even if it's an advanced class, I'll give beginners something that
Okay.
they can
You
do.
put them over in the corner.
Exactly. You
Right.
go in the corner
Right.
over there.
And you just call me if you break something.
Raise your hand.
Right. So what do you think about Pilates?
I don't really have a dog in that fight for
Okay.
Pilates, but I think that when it comes to mobility, that's the most
Whatever it
important
takes,
thing, whatever
right.
it takes to, even if it's just to look at some YouTube videos and
Right.
start to move. Because once we get rigid in those joints,
Right.
you know, that's when we start to have lack of mobility.
And even now, I think you were telling me, and I know of one, Tanya's place, is they have stretching studios now where you can learn. Because a lot of times, if you're really stiff, you feel like you can't even get anywhere. But if the more you stretch, the more your body's going to start rewarding you.
Yeah.
So I think
exactly.
that would, yes.
And balance is a real big thing.
Yes,
So decrease
absolutely.
in balance, that causes a lot of issues for sure. And once again, as we get older, we tend to lose those things.
Right. That's true. Right. But it's never too late to get back on that horse. And I'm talking to myself. So I think that, because I used to love working out. Once upon a time, I worked out every single day. Now I've got to find time. I've got to make that time. Because you really can't afford not to be physical.
Yeah. And I mean, you're talking about well-being, because we're talking about fitness and wellness. Because, I mean, if you are physically fit, one, it helps with body weight.
Right.
You know? And then you'll become more mindful of maybe the things you're putting in your mouth also.
Yeah, you read my mind.
Because they go
That's
hand in
exactly
hand.
Right. They really do. You start to respect your body in every way.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't even realize that when you're eating sugar, your body's inflamed immediately, and it goes into your joints.
Absolutely.
But if I never move, how do I know my body's inflamed?
That's right. Because that can cause you inflammation as well.
Exactly.
Just, sitting around doing nothing, eating bonbons.
Exactly.
That's a perfect storm.
Exactly.
So what other, do we have other benefits in there?
Well, of course, it helps to maintain muscle tissue and strength.
Okay.
And you have better balance and coordination, and it reduces the risk of falls. Of course, we know that as we get older.
Absolutely, and we can't afford to fall at a certain age. So
and improve sleep and depression.
That is very important.
So a lot of people, especially during the year that 2 years we've been off with COVID, can be depressed because they're not moving in their body.
Absolutely. And so, and the reason is because working out releases endorphins, correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And so it beats antidepressants. If you can afford, if you can work out versus popping a pill, take
and
the
if you
former.
can't sleep and
if
you
you
go
can't,
work out,
absolutely.
tire yourself out.
And I did read another study that the more you stretch before bed, that you sleep like a baby. So
yes, I definitely believe in
stretching. Absolutely.
Because because it's like sometimes you'll wake up in the morning and you feel so tight.
Yeah.
But if you're just able to do some real simple stretch, like even if it's
just
reaching up and touch your toes 10 to 15 times,
absolutely.
That's better than nothing.
It's
right?
better than nothing, absolutely. And I notice when I do touch my toes, I feel it in my back, my arms, my hamstrings. It's covering a lot.
And that's because of the pelvis.
See? She knows. And
because that pelvis has to rotate, and that's where it attaches.
Okay.
And you have muscles that attach to your low back and muscles and your hamstrings attached to your pelvis.
Okay. And you could feel
exactly.
that. And it's not pain, but you just feel like you're doing something.
Exactly. Right? So if you decide to bend and touch your toes, you can always have a slight bend in your knees.
Yes.
But start to notice, like, okay, can I touch? Am I not touching?
Right.
Yeah, that tells you a lot about what's going on.
And there's a little trick I teach people, and I'm sure you know it too. If you haven't touched your toes in a long time and you can only go so far, breathe in. Every time you breathe in, it releases the vertebrae. It puts some oxygen in the vertebrae. Promise you, by the time you had 20 breaths, you'll be touching the floor.
Okay,
and that's
not a promise.
Really? It works for everyone I've tried it with. Maybe
not touch the floor, because I mean it can't. You'll definitely go deeper.
Well, the thing
we don't want them to make a promise and touch the floor, and they don't.
Well, right, okay. Don't sue me if you can't touch the floor. But if you can touch the floor,
you'll be able to go deeper.
Right, and I guess it depends on your level. Okay, your level. Most people should be able to touch the floor. I have so far everyone I've tried it with have been successful.
And so far everybody I tried it with have not.
Really? Maybe you're just trying it with the wrong people.
Yeah, the yoga students.
Because I'm just trying it with lay people.
But the correct way to breathe is when you exhale, you go down, and inhale, you stand up.
That's
because
good to
that way you're actually working with the diaphragm,
right?
And you're also all the belly, all the organs in your belly are going to help when you exhale out and go deeper into a pose.
Okay, so that leads me to a question. So when you're lifting weights, you know, people never know, when do you breathe in? Do you breathe in when you're pushing the weight up, or you breathe in when you're releasing it?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I have to see how I have to go.
You know what I'm saying? Right, because I'm like, I've tried it both ways, and I can't tell which one is the way it's supposed to. And I know there's a very specific time when you breathe in, when you breathe out. I just don't know when.
Well, one day we're going to have an expert on here to tell us about that.
One day, very soon.
Yes, and then we'll understand all of that.
I'm looking forward to it.
We'll understand the mechanics of movement. I will say that you develop more strength on eccentric movements than concentric.
Okay, you hear that, guys? Now, on that note, we're going to take a little break. But we'll be back with
eccentric and concentric.
And she's going to explain she's going to say those two words in English, and then we're going to cover a little bit how spirituality and fitness blend together, how they are related. So we'll be back in a minute.